first thing I like to do in my reviews is talk about what the company actually says the product does, because that way we can evaluate whether it's actually working effectively or not. The first thing Rimmel says that this does is to smooth on instantly and seamlessly. They say that it lasts up to 24 hours, that it creates a natural looking flush of color, and that it feels lightweight and not heavy. Hey everyone, Kaylee here, and today on Make It or Break It Monday, we are talking about the Rimmel Stay Blushed Liquid Blushes. They have 5 colors. The first color is called Pop of Pink. It's kind of a bright coral. It's going to give you the kind of brightest, peppiest look of all of the blushes, I think. The second is Touch of Berry, which is much more blue toned. It's going to give you that kind of purpley, pinky blush, so it goes really well with Orchid, which is a huge color for this spring. Then we have Peach Flush, which I don't own, but I'm assuming it's peachy and wonderful. Number 4 is Sunkissed Cherry, and this is much more of kind of a neutral brick-ish color. This is going to give you that kind of like tanned pink, if you will. This is kind of the thing that I wear when I want to look like I've been in the sun, and I got a little bit of a tan, but I'm also pretty rosy at the same time. The final one is number 5, Apricot Glow. This one is kind of a true apricot. It's very close to kind of that neutral orangey family. This would go really well. Basically, if you're trying to go for a very minimal blush look, it's going to give you some color, but because it has very little pink in it, it's not going to make you look too springy or too over applied. It's not going to make you look like you're trying really hard in the blush department, but it will give you a nice little glow of color. I think especially because it has that apricot tone to it, it's going to help really enhance the look of a tan that you might have, or any bronzer that you use, and making you look extra tan for the spring and summertime. So now let's talk about application. How do we get these things onto our face? Well, first of all, you're going to use a little tiny amount. I like using my fingers because the heat from my fingers actually helps with the blending process and getting this to really seamlessly integrate with my foundation so that it really looks beautiful and blended and seamless and natural. And I do that after I've applied all of my liquid makeup, but before I apply my powder. And when I do that, if I'm going to be applying a face powder that's kind of pigmented, I go a little bit stronger with my blush than I actually want, because when you put that face powder over it, it's going to mute the blush down just a little bit. If you're wearing a translucent powder, then just go with the actual amount of blush that you want to have. And you can powder over this to set it, or you can skip it, because honestly this dries down really well on its own and it doesn't really need to be set. Also, you can, I don't necessarily recommend it, but you can apply it over powder, because there have been a couple times where I really wanted to use these, but I was just in my rut of like, okay, liquid and powder, and then I was like, oh dang it, my blush. So I decided to try it over top of it, and it actually works really well. The other thing I wanted to mention for the application of these is that you can mix these colors together and create kind of like a custom blush. You can do that with powders as well, but it's so much cooler to do it with liquids because you can actually like see the color that you're making. Let's talk about whether they actually live up to what the company claims they do, because that really is always the question at the end of the day, isn't it? First of all, the company says that these smooth on instantly and seamlessly. I would definitely agree with that. These are insanely easy to blend. Even if it looks like you might have way too much in one area, you really can buff it out until you get it to where you want it. It's very, very easy to work with. I would say anybody of any level of makeup artistry can definitely make these work. The next claim that the company makes is that they are very natural looking flush, and I absolutely agree with that. I mean, first of all, anytime that you get a cream blush, I think it's going to look more natural just because of the way that they blend in and the way that they fade into the skin. It just looks so much more nice and natural and blended than a powder blush does. I think specifically with this formula, the coverage is extremely buildable, so you can put on a little bit and really sheer it out for just like a hint of color. And if someday you want to be just a little bit more daring, you can build up the color to be even more intense. And you can kind of choose on what scale of application is most natural and most comfortable for you. The next claim that Rimmel makes is that these last on your cheeks for 24 hours. Now, I don't wear my makeup for 24 hours, but these do last really well throughout the day. I would say I put them on at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day, of course, there's always wear and tear on your makeup, but these last infinitely better than my powder blushes do. That does depend a lot on how oily your skin is and the foundation that you're wearing it over, because I've noticed that if I wear a foundation that doesn't wear well throughout the day, then these are going to wear off with the foundation because you're putting them on over the foundation, and so they are kind of like tied to the fate of the foundation, if you will. So if you have a foundation that slips and slides off of your face, these are going to slip and slide right with it. I haven't tried them on my face as bare skin just to see how it does, but I did have swatches on my hand for hours yesterday and they stayed completely on my hand just fine. So I'm thinking that if you were to do them on bare skin, they would last really well. I did read a review by Nouveau Cheap, I think that's how you say her blog name. She has a great drugstore beauty blog, by the way, that you should totally follow if you are into drugstore makeup. But she said that she has extremely oily skin and these held up really well on her skin throughout the day. So I think there is hope. The final thing that Rimmel claims about these is that they are ultra lightweight, and I think they are spot on with that one. And that's actually what makes me love these as much as I do, because I love the application of a cream blush. I love how it goes on. I love how it blends. I love how it looks throughout the day. Cream blushes have my heart. However, I don't ever wear them, and the reason for that is that usually they're sticky, and I do not wear anything on my face that makes my face sticky. These, however, they go on kind of like a really great long-lasting liquid foundation, in that when you put them on, they're extremely blendable, but then they lock down, and they really lock down, and they are completely dry to the touch. So, I mean, I can, like, you know, do this number, and I don't feel anything. Like, it feels like powder. You know, it feels like makeup, but it doesn't feel sticky. It feels completely dried down and locked down to my skin. So now I'm just going to go into my thoughts, which you've kind of heard already. I basically love these. My favorite thing is how lightweight they are, just the fact that they dry down. You don't have to set them with a powder. You can't feel them on your face. You can't, like, feel stickiness with your fingers. How amazing is that? Like, finally. So that in itself makes me happy. Then it's super buildable, so you can be as creative as you want with it. It just empowers you to be able to create whatever you want to create. So if you wake up one day and you're like, drastic blush, you can use this product. And if you wake up one day and you're like, no makeup, you can use this blush. The third thing that I really love is the color selection. Like, oh my goodness, I love all of these colors. I think there's a great variety, and I think there's actually a lot of room for growth as well. I would love to see them come out with like a neon blush collection, or a statement blush collection, or maybe come out with like bronzers in this line, or ooh, here we go, illuminators in this line. I just want to see this line go crazy. Just please, Rimmel, do that. Now, I don't necessarily have any negatives, but I would like to mention that I don't think that these are actually a liquid blush. These are actually closer to a mousse. They come out as kind of like a light, almost whipped texture than a liquid texture like you would imagine, which is good because I think the thickness of that helps them to be a little bit better to blend. However, there is one oddball in the group, and that is Touch of Berry. This has a completely different consistency than the rest of the color. It's not a mousse formula at all. When I actually squirted this one out to swatch it, I was like, wait, was this one just like really hot? Did it melt a little? Like, what's going on? This one is much closer to like a foundation formula, and it's also much more sheer than the rest of these are. They would take a little bit more building up to really get a lot of color from it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think this one still performs really well. I just want to note that for you guys, that it is much different in viscosity and in coverage than the other ones in the line. Alright, so that's it. You guys can probably tell I love these. These are definitely a make it item. I really am a huge fan of them. I'm so glad that Rimmel came out with them, and I think for $3 they're an amazing bargain. I mean, they are up there with all of the drugstore bargains in my mind. I hope you check them out. If you do, or if you have already, definitely tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it. And I will see you guys on Wednesday with my next video. I love you very much. Mwah! Bye!